Hi everyone, my name is Nica Balleta and I'm here in front of you to discuss about Mead's theory of the self. George Herbert Mead is an American sociologist best known as the founder of American pragmatism, a pioneer of symbolic interaction theory, and as one of the founders of social psychology. So according to him, the self has made of two components, and it is the I and the me. The I is the response of the individual to the attitudes of others, while the me is the accumulated understanding of the generalized other. The I is the knower, the me is the known. So in effect, the me is the self as object, while the I is the self as subject, and that is according to Crossman 2017. An example of how we can conceive of this duality is through a work scenario. Your boss is conversing with you. She says something that vehemently disagree with, and through your I would like to tell her go to hell in that moment. Your me interprets how she would expect you to respond as the employee, and so you respectfully defer to her based on your understanding of your role and expected behavior. George Herbert Mead suggested that there are 3 stages involving role-taking and development for a child. These stages, now referred to Mead's stages, include the preparatory stage, the play stage, and the game stage. Over time, after a baby is born, the child doesn't have a sense of identity, but changes as he or she grows. This self-development, or the way people's perceptions of themselves change, a multiple variables play a part of this process. First is the preparatory stage. It lasts from the time we are born until we are about age 2. Within this stage, the child mimics. The child has no understanding in regards to the meaning of behind the words, actions, or tones of voice. For an example of this is a child might bang on a piece of wood while a parent is engaged in carpentry work, or throw a ball if an older sibling is doing so nearby. The next one is the play stage. It lasts from about age 2 to 6. Within this stage, the child pretends and still does not adhere to the rules within organized games. During this stage, the child will pretend to be mommy or daddy depending on their observation. And the last one is the game stage. It lasts from 7 to onward. At this stage, the child begins to comprehend and adhere to rules of games. Formalization begins at this stage, while pretending rather than mirroring their observation, the child will become more independent on their rules. The child begins taking this perspective into account during this stage. Our next topic is about our sense of self by others' view of us. According to Cooley 1902, the concept of the looking glass self states that part of how we see ourselves comes from our perceptions of how others see us. We might feel that we have a great sense of humor, for example, because others have told us and often laughed at our jokes. The actions of others to ourselves provides us with feedback about ourselves to the most direct sort. The labeling bias occurs when we are labeled and others' view and expectations of us are affected by that labeling. That is according to Facts and Stinnett, 1996. For example, if a teacher knows that a child has been diagnosed with a particular psychological disorder, the teacher may have different expectations and explanations of the child's behavior than he or she would if not aware of that label. If we are repeatedly labeled and evaluated by others, then self-labeling may occur, which happens when we adopt others' labels explicitly into our self-concept. The effects of this self-labeling on our self-esteem appear to depend very much on the nature of the labels. The last one is the internalized prejudice, which occurs when individuals turn prejudice directed toward them by others onto themselves. Internalized prejudice has been found to predict more negative self-concept and poorer psychological adjustment in members of various groups, including sexual minorities and racial minorities. So our last topic is the social comparison theory. Our sense of self is influenced by comparison with others. Social comparison occurs when we learn about our abilities and skills, about the appropriateness and validity of our opinions, and about our relative social status by comparing our own attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors with those of others. For example, when students ask their teacher for the class average on an exam, they are also seeking to use social comparison to evaluate their performance. So that's all. Thank you.